Hi, my name is Edwin Torres, and I'm very happy to be part of the Hard Hat reading series. I walk through Poets House in construction, and it is very much a hard hat area. Isn't the root of poetry poesis, which is to make? So this all fits very much. It's all conducive to metaphor making, as is language making. So I'm happy to be here. Um, Poets House has a dear history to me. I actually my very first reading, my very first professional reading was Miguel Algarin, Bimbo Rivas, and Jorge Brandon, and it was mind altering at least. So since then, I've done a few things with Poets House, and they're very, very dear to my heart. So I'm very happy to be here. So I um, I chose. There's so many poems I could have chosen. I wasn't sure which would make sense. And I've been involved in the idea of process lately, and language making has been part of what I do forever. And how to root that language making into something that could connect to what we might call life. So there's a lot of poems with that theme in mind. I found this new poet, which I'm really excited about, and I want to read one of her pieces and then mine. It's a poet. Her name is Endi Bogue Hartigan, and she has a new book on Omnidawn Press. It just came out this year, and the entire book is around the subject matter of clocks and time. And I thought that sort of fit into my current interests and my evolving interests rooted in that currency, I guess. So I'll read this and then talk about it a little bit and then my own. I'm talking about their rotation. I'm talking about the black cows in the pasture along the highway between here and the office. Some days a black cow's snouts are pointed in the same direction in the morning and the opposite direction in the evening. All 200, 300 or so, parallel dipping their snouts. Some days they are helter-skelter, some days the shadows are crisp, some days the shadows are swallowed, but they have shadows on all days. And the wet eyes of the cows have an angle with which they lean into the wet grass. So they are a kind of dial to themselves and their light, visible to themselves or not. I might be comforted driving by saying cow shadow o'clock, saying east black cow o'clock. I might be comforted by talking about the rotation. It is child eyelash o'clock. It is having to look o'clock. It is Nile flood o'clock. It is percolate o'clock. It is morning birds plus socket sound of car closing. 21st century pastoral o'clock. It is flash flood fear o'clock. It is TV van at the shooting site rim. It is miscount of the dead o'clock. It is remember to call, find a corner to make a call o'clock. It is the blue jay screech o'clock. It is having to look o'clock. It is innocent eyelash o'clock. It is the clock continuing despite o'clock. People emptying from their eyes. It is yesterday's rose dew o'clock. It is tearing the work blouse off its hanger o'clock. It is tearing and not. It is that blouse again, that headline again. It is everything I forgot creeping up in tides. It is people split and swelled, confiding overflow o'clock. It is the shadow of a gun, the shadow of the cow o'clock. It is what is allowed in the shadow. It is the president's turned up o'clock. It is America's deadliness and dailiness o'clock. It is glued to the headline o'clock. It is lunch hour beeline o'clock. It's only Tuesday o'clock. Another curbside memorial o'clock. Another caterpillar miracle o'clock. Another people emptying from their lives o'clock or into their lives o'clock. The Nile floods, every hot spell in this week. It is child wake. It is flood of what's at stake o'clock. It is the morning rupture, the American rupture that shadow bleeds and swells. It is the felling of the shadow o'clock. I'm talking about the black cows. Speech has little. Speech has little to do with it, ultimately. Or speech has everything to do with it. Or odd. People turning into speech clusters, or speech is a kind of nursery rhyme to God. So the book is structured in different passages. It has parts, It has it's blurry, you can't tell. It has sections of prose, sections of couplets. The entire book is about a reckoning with movement. I think with a reckoning with movement in our lives, and a reckoning with what it means to envision time in language in different ways. It's just a really brilliant exercise and foray into what poetry can do for me. The pieces I chose of my own sort of reflect a little bit of that thinking, where we're trying to establish where we are in the realm that we call our own. So how do we do that without getting in the way, without the poet's voice getting in the way of the poem? And what Endi is doing beautifully in the book is sort of giving us the possibility for where we can meet the poem, where we can meet her, and sort of establish our own time sense. And poetry does that beautifully. Poetry allows us to just kind of take another sort of between realm and inhabit it. So that's why I read that piece. It's sort of the everything and the nowhere, the everything of the world within the repetition, within the mantra, which is very time-based, of course. So I'm reading from my book, XoeteoX, put out by Wave. And I'm reading a suite of 3 poems, all called slippages. Slippage 1, slippage 2, and slippage 3. Slippage is a sort of a framework between the sense making and page making in a way. I have some graphic pieces, but also pieces that are exploring time in that manner, exploring time as a realm where we can allow ourselves to meet what the words tell us what they want to be like. If that makes any sense. Anyway, so these are 3 poems: Slippage 1, Slippage 2, Slippage 3. Each one has its own title, but they're connected. To the tetric heptathlete. To the tetric heptathlete, we exist in a dialogue of existing. Our ephemeral soil as divided as our tongue. The oral erasure that defines our evolution in a Y thing connection. The X crossing out the at, the O, the Y. In that crossing out, a bridge, a new repository brought to light, where accent creates opportunity to shift with the ever shift. How to evolve with the silent runners. To the rendered excision. The fragment held in the hand conforms to the fragment holding the fragment. The body fragment of hand knows its part, holding its part, and knows that part's reason is to be part. Fragment holding fragment. Body holding earth. I saw people. They were all me. I saw objects. Could not any be me? I walked in my lower both, inside the removal of not me. I tried to live in both. Who is sacred to the word sacred? Exfoliate the alphabet. Fragment spoken is word part. The fragment spoken conforms to the fragment lived. Time holding both calendar and both. Being us all the time inside our other us is our living, breathing both. To read with the silent runners. To sit with a book's silence is to deepen the silence. To power a book's loudness with yours is to fuse your silence with a page, is to power your private world. To give yourself silent power is to sit with your silence weavers, your fellow deepeners, loudly with you inside. I leave my body, through sound I return when I stop. To keep moving when I sit with the spine of a book is deeper than knowing if it is still a part of me. The next day, to offer the space to wake up. How we all have a bit of cave inside, a hollow tone, bringing sound to the word. Without answer, I look for an alternate tone to find out what I'm missing, to word in my time, to go beyond the alternate say. Thank you. It was great being here. I now go back into the hard hat area, wearing my shawl of poetry to protect me from language, to protect me from myself. Someone has to. Thank you.